the extension of the bank holiday in Greece. When the banks finally do reopen, what are you expecting?
I'm not expecting very much, frankly, because I think that capital controls will stay in place for a very long time. So we're talking about opening the banks as if that's going to make any difference whatsoever. I think there will still be restrictions on what people can remove from their accounts. There will still be restrictions on transactions. If we look at the example of Cyprus, for example, capital controls stayed in place for a good 2.5 years. So I think that we're in for the long haul here in Greece.
Indeed. Okay, you just heard Bill Gross saying that he sees a 70 to 80% chance of an exit from the euro by Greece. Would you be in line with that?
Well, I don't think it's very helpful to assign these sorts of probabilities. I think that what Bill Gross means is that he sees a relatively high chance of an exit at this point. Frankly, we just don't know. We have to see what happens, first of all, with the decision of the European Central Bank. How far will they extend emergency liquidity assistance? We have to then see how the negotiations kick off over the next few days. And bear in mind that we have a deadline of the 20th of July, a near-term deadline. That's the point at which the European Central Bank needs to be repaid 3.5 billion euros. If negotiations haven't gone well up to that point, there's a risk of default, and I think that the Europeans at that point would take a very hard line on Greece.
Ms. Hewin, Sunday's no vote, did it give Greece and Prime Minister Tsipras a stronger bargaining position when they finally do talk to international creditors again?
I think from the Greek standpoint it does, and of course it's encouraging that there seems to be cross-party support now for the Greek position. So hopefully they will be approaching talks with one voice and with a clear aim in sight. The big problem is that that aim may well not tally with what the European creditors are prepared to concede. So I think that this no vote sends a message to European creditors that the Greek side is not prepared to undertake the sorts of reforms that will be needed if we're talking about a 2 to 3 year bailout programme, which is where we are now. We're at a different stage to where we were back 10 days ago, 2 weeks ago.
So what if, though, the creditors have to take a huge haircut? As we just heard, what if it was a 50% haircut? I mean, is that even in the cards?
We're talking about a cut to net present value of debt. So the way that the creditors will be approaching it, and indeed they've been talking about debt restructuring for some time, this was always on the table, is that they would extend out maturities. Bear in mind that the euro area is the largest holder of Greek debt by far, and that the repayment of that Greek debt doesn't kick in for another 20 years or so. The idea would be to extend that out for a further 20 years so that repayments don't happen for another 30 to 40 years. And I think that that's the way that the debt restructuring will go about. It's very difficult for the Europeans to go back to their taxpayers and say, actually, this debt has been haircut. You can go around it the back route, but not up front.